Atlantic City, New Jersey, the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, January 22, 1988. Friday night, 9:30 in the evening. The air inside the arena is thick with cigarette smoke and the smell of beer and expensive cologne. 8,000 people packed into a space that feels both massive and intimate. The arena lights dim everything except the ring itself, which sits elevated like a stage under bright white spotlights. Around the ring, rows of seats filled with celebrities, boxing legends, high rollers who paid thousands for ringside tickets. Muhammad Ali is here, Sugar Ray Leonard, George Foreman. They sit close enough to hear the leather hit flesh, close enough to see the sweat fly. This is a heavyweight championship fight, but more than that, this is a passing of the torch, or at least that's what everyone thinks it's supposed to be. Mike Tyson, 21 years old, the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history, stands in his corner. He's 5 feet 10 inches, 218 pounds of concentrated violence, black trunks, no socks, black shoes. His body is a sculpture of functional strength, not the inflated muscles of a bodybuilder, but the dense coiled power of a predator. His neck is as thick as most men's thighs. His shoulders roll forward slightly, a fighter's posture, always ready. His face is expressionless, but his eyes are alive, dark, watching everything. Across the ring stands Larry Holmes, 38 years old, 6 feet 3 inches, 225 pounds, the former heavyweight champion who dominated boxing for 7 years. From 1978 to 1985, Holmes was the king. He defended his title 20 times, beat every challenger, retired undefeated as champion. He came back for one fight, lost to Michael Spinks in a controversial decision, fought Spinks again, lost again, then he retired. But retirement didn't suit Larry Holmes, and when Don King came calling with an offer to fight the young Mike Tyson, Holmes couldn't say no, not for the money, though the purse was substantial, for something deeper, for pride, for the chance to prove that age and experience could beat youth and power. The story of how this fight came to be starts 3 months earlier, October 1987. Mike Tyson was at the peak of his powers. He'd won the heavyweight championship at 20 years old by destroying Trevor Berbick in 2 rounds. Then he unified the titles by beating James Smith and Tony Tucker. He was undefeated, 31 wins, no losses, 27 knockouts. He wasn't just winning fights, he was destroying grown men, professional fighters in minutes. The boxing world had never seen anything like him, not just the power, but the speed, not just the aggression, but the discipline. Mike Tyson fought like a mathematician who studied violence, but there was something else about Tyson that made people uncomfortable. He was so young, so powerful, and so completely in control that it felt wrong somehow, like watching a force of nature contained in human skin. People whispered that he needed a real test, a legendary opponent, someone who could expose his weaknesses, someone who could prove he was human. Larry Holmes heard these whispers. He was living in eastern Pennsylvania, training young fighters at his gym, doing interviews, making appearances. He'd been retired for 2 years, but he stayed in shape. At 38, he was still faster than most heavyweights half his age, still had that legendary jab, the best jab in heavyweight history, still had the ring intelligence that came from 75 professional fights, and he had something Mike Tyson didn't have yet, experience. The kind of experience that only comes from being tested by the best fighters in the world for over a decade. In November 1987, Larry Holmes called a press conference. He announced he was coming out of retirement for one fight, one opponent, Mike Tyson. The boxing world exploded with opinions. Some said Holmes was crazy, that Tyson would kill him. Others said Holmes was the perfect opponent to expose Tyson, that his jab would keep Tyson at distance, that his experience would frustrate the young champion. The debate raged for weeks, but Mike Tyson didn't engage in the debate. He just trained. He trained like a man preparing for war. The contract was signed. January 22nd, 1988, Atlantic City. Holmes would get $4 million. Tyson would get $6 million. The fight would be 12 rounds, though few people believed it would go that long. In the weeks leading up to the fight, Larry Holmes did something unusual for a challenger. He talked constantly. Every interview, every press conference, Holmes would speak about experience, about heart, about the difference between a young fighter and a seasoned champion. He said Mike Tyson had never faced someone like him, said Tyson's previous opponents were either too old, too slow, or too scared, said Larry Holmes would be different. At one press conference, 2 weeks before the fight, Holmes looked directly at Tyson and said something that made headlines. He said, "You're young, you're strong, you're fast, But you're also 21 years old, and you don't know what it's like to be in the ring with a man who's been where you're trying to go. I've been the champion. I've fought everyone. I know things you don't know yet. And in that ring, that knowledge is gonna matter. Mike Tyson sat next to him during that press conference, stone-faced, didn't react, didn't respond. But after the press conference ended, as both fighters were leaving, Tyson stopped, turned to Holmes, and said 5 words that would become legendary. "Hit me. Just hit me." Holmes looked at him, confused. "What?" Tyson stepped closer, his voice quiet but clear. "When we get in that ring, don't hold back. Don't protect yourself too much. Don't try to survive. Just hit me. Show me what all that experience means. Hit me with everything you have, because if you don't, this will be over fast." Larry Holmes stared at the young champion, trying to read his face, trying to understand if this was arrogance or something else. Then Holmes smiled, a tight smile, and said, "Oh, I'm going to hit you, kid. Don't worry about that." But as Holmes walked away, something about the way Tyson said those words stayed with him. There was no bravado in it, no showmanship. It was a genuine request, like a student asking a teacher for their hardest lesson. Now it's fight night. The arena is roaring. The ring announcer, Michael Buffer, is in the center of the ring with his microphone. He announces Larry Holmes first. The crowd gives him respect, applause, some cheers. Holmes walks down the aisle with his team, wearing a white robe with gold trim. He looks confident, looks strong for 38. He climbs into the ring, raises his arms, acknowledges the crowd. Then Buffer announces Mike Tyson. The sound that erupts is different, not just louder, but darker, more primal. People are screaming, not cheering. There's something about Mike Tyson that makes crowds react viscerally. He walks to the ring with no robe, no entrance music, just walks. His trainer, Kevin Rooney, walks beside him. When Tyson reaches the ring, he doesn't acknowledge the crowd. He just climbs through the ropes and immediately starts moving, bouncing on his toes, rolling his shoulders. The referee, Joe Cortez, calls both fighters to the center of the ring for final instructions. They stand face to face. Holmes is 5 inches taller, but somehow Tyson seems bigger, seems to occupy more space. Cortez gives the standard instructions. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands. Touch gloves. The fighters touch gloves. Holmes looks into Tyson's eyes, and for just a moment, he sees something that makes his stomach tighten. Not anger, not hatred, emptiness, like looking into the eyes of something that doesn't feel fear or doubt or mercy. They return to their corners. The bell rings. Round 1 begins. Holmes immediately establishes his jab, that famous Larry Holmes jab, straight and fast, snapping into Tyson's face. Once, twice, 3 times. Tyson walks through them like they're not there, moving forward, head down, shoulders up, the peekaboo style he learned from Costamato. Holmes circles, jabs, moves. He's doing exactly what everyone expected, using his reach, using his experience, keeping Tyson at distance. But there's a problem. The distance is closing. No matter how much Holmes moves, Tyson is getting closer. And every time Tyson gets inside, he throws combinations to the body. Short, brutal hooks to the ribs, to the liver. Holmes feels them, feels the power behind them, power that makes his legs weak for a split second. Round 1 ends. Holmes goes back to his corner, breathing hard. His trainer is talking, giving advice, but Holmes isn't really listening. He's thinking about those body shots. He's fought George Foreman. He's fought Ernie Shavers. He's been hit by the hardest punches in boxing history. But Mike Tyson's body shots are different. They don't just hurt. They drain something from you, take something essential. Round 2. Holmes comes out still trying to box, still trying to use his jab and movement. But Tyson is adjusting, reading him, timing him. Midway through the round, Holmes throws a jab. Tyson slips it, steps in, and throws a right uppercut that travels maybe 6 inches and lands flush on Holmes's chin. The sound echoes through the arena. Holmes's legs buckle. He doesn't go down, but he staggers backward, and for the first time in his career, Larry Holmes feels old. Tyson doesn't rush in to finish. He just follows, methodical, throwing combinations, headshots, body shots, breaking Holmes down piece by piece. The bell saves Holmes. He goes back to his corner. His face is already swelling. His ribs are screaming. His trainer is trying to motivate him, trying to tell him he can still win this. But Holmes knows. He knows he's in the ring with something beyond his experience. This isn't a fight anymore. This is survival. Round 3. Holmes tries to be defensive, tries to clinch, tries to buy time. But Tyson is relentless. He walks through everything Holmes throws, and every time he lands, it's with bad intentions. A left hook to the body makes Holmes gasp out loud. A right hand to the temple makes his vision blur. Holmes is a warrior, a true champion, but his body is betraying him. His legs are heavy. His arms are slow. His mind is willing,
but his flesh is failing. Round 4. Larry Holmes comes out knowing this might be his last round. He has to do something, has to prove that his words meant something, that his experience counts for something. Tyson comes forward, as he has for 3 rounds, and Holmes sets a trap. He fakes a jab. Tyson slips, and Holmes throws a right hand, a hard right hand, the kind that has knocked out champions. It lands clean on Tyson's jaw. The arena gasps. For a moment, everything stops. Did that hurt Tyson? Did it affect him at all? Mike Tyson's head snaps to the side from the punch. He takes 1 step back. Then he looks at Larry Holmes, and he nods. Just once. A small nod of acknowledgement. You hit me. Like I asked. Now it's my turn. What happens in the next 30 seconds will be talked about for decades. Tyson explodes forward, with a combination so fast, so violent, that Holmes can't defend against any of it. A left hook to the body, a right uppercut, another left hook, this one to the head, a straight right hand that lands with the sound of a baseball bat hitting concrete. Holmes goes down, not stumbling, not staggering, just down. His legs stop working, and he falls to the canvas, like a building collapsing. Joe Cortez immediately waves his arms. The fight is over. Tyson walks to a neutral corner. No celebration, no emotion, just walks. Larry Holmes tries to get up, but he can't. His corner rushes into the ring. The medical team rushes in. Holmes is conscious, but he's hurt, really hurt. They help him to his corner, help him sit down. The arena is in chaos. People screaming, people stunned, people trying to process what they just witnessed. Mike Tyson made history that night. Not because he beat Larry Holmes, though that was significant. He made history because he proved something to the boxing world that had been whispered but never fully accepted. He proved that sometimes youth and power and perfect discipline can overcome experience. He proved that there are levels to greatness, and he was operating on a level that even legends couldn't reach. After the fight, in the locker room, Larry Holmes sat on a training table, ice on his face, ice on his ribs. A reporter asked him what happened. Holmes was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I hit him. Like he asked me to. I hit him with everything I had, and it didn't matter. That's not a 21-year-old kid. That's something else. That night changed boxing. Mike Tyson became not just a champion, but a phenomenon. Larry Holmes retired for good, his legacy intact, but his body finally admitting what his mind had refused to accept. Years later, Holmes would say that fighting Mike Tyson taught him something about himself. It taught him that there's honor in trying even when you know you might fail. That there's courage in stepping into the ring with someone younger, stronger, faster, because the alternative is wondering what if. Mike Tyson never spoke much about the Holmes fight, but those who were close to him said it mattered to him deeply, because Larry Holmes did what Tyson asked. He didn't hold back. He hit him, and in doing so he gave Tyson the gift of being tested by a legend. That respect, that warrior's acknowledgement meant more than the knockout. It meant that even in victory, Tyson understood what it cost Holmes to give him that fight. 4 rounds. That's all it took. 4 rounds to pass the torch from one era to the next. 4 rounds to prove that greatness, when it arrives, is undeniable.